Hello everyone, my name is TheMadScorpyon and welcome back to Into the Light Dev stream number 3. Now in this coverage we'll be talking about a few more specific highlights. First of all being exotic missions returning to the rotator, and when I say returning it is because it is something that we have already seen and another one that we have already seen before. But in addition to that we do talk about as well new PvP maps coming, and in addition to that another live stream, not another Into the Light live stream, but more on that later, in addition to new customization and lots of other things. Now, starting from the very top, of course, like I just mentioned, we'll have both the Whisper and the 0-hour exotic missions returning with rewards of the new craftable versions of Whisper the Worm and Outbreak Perfected. And yes, I did say craftable. Now, just to dart back really quick, if you already have the Catalyst versions of these ones done, you won't have to go back and get the Catalyst yourself. However, if you do still need to earn them, you have to do it on Legend mode, which is an indicator that, of course, there will be a normal and a Legend mode involved with each. On that note, though, they did already tell us that they are reworking some things in addition to sandboxes, health pools, and accommodations for traversal and everything. They are reworking them. They won't be one-to-one the same. In addition to that, they did mention the secret chests and other variety of secret things have moved around, so a lot of the old guides and the old ways will no longer be useful. So keep an eye out for the new versions coming out for each of these missions. Now, like I mentioned, Catalyst is still the same, available from Legend mode. But however, they did mention something else that was available for hard mode, and that is the Triumph ship. And this might be a bit of a problem for some of you. The original versions of the ships will not be available. 1000 Wings and the old Scrapyard Junker, maybe not so much for the second one, will not be available. Instead, new ships, which will either be a 2.0 or another new ship entirely, will be available. So if you wanted a new special version ship, now you can get those. Now, the Whisper can be launched from Eris Morn in addition to the Rotator, so there is something about that. Although, just talking already, they did mention as well, a slight issue, Whisper will be available on launch, however, 0 Hour will be available sometime in May. I don't know if that's just because it's going to be an unlocked time gate, or if it's going to be a while until it enters the Rotator. But going on to 0 Hour. Now, 0 Hour will, of course, have some updated enemies, probably about most of the same, but a few new ones, as it is mostly House Salvation, Fallen you come across, so you'll be fighting a few things like Briggs here and there, and it may be Berserkers. I forget if at this no, Berserkers weren't around at this time, but I doubt they'd probably pull that out of the vault just for this. But like I mentioned, yes, it will be different in a few ways in terms of traversal, as well as secrets once again. However, during the run, of course, unlocking it, it is different from its original version of its convoluted cipher and scavenger hunt. They didn't specify how different though, so there will be a unique way to do it. Like I said, another guide will need to be made if you're going to sort this one out. And on top of that, you might notice the timer, it is longer than before. However, normal mode will have a 40-minute timer for completion, and at least with these missions, it is basically when the timer ends, the activity ends, regardless of how much time you have left. But Legend mode will be 20 minutes, so 40-minute. The normal mode will be for teaching people, showing them the road, getting it done slower just in case, and Legend mode will, of course, be the, serious mode. Now, on top of that, like I mentioned before, craftable weapons for the both of them, which means that you'll get access to a few other perks. Specifically, you'll be able to trade out Mulligan on Whisper for a variety of other things, like No Distractions or Enlightened Action, if I recall what they were. And for Outbreak, you can get something like Rewind Rounds or Rapid Hit in exchange for Outlaw. Nifty indeed. But on the topic of everything else, Whisper is also getting a slight ammo reserve buff, so that is also something worth keeping note of. But that is pretty much a majority of everything mentioned for both 0 Hour and everything else. They didn't give anything away. Trevor will still be the usual pain that he has been, but, they also, again, they didn't spoil anything, really. Then getting into PvP maps, they did tell us some things about what they are bringing. First of all, there is going to be 3 of them, like mentioned before. However, they did mention that these maps are generally focused for the competitive side. So they were kind of built around the idea of 3v3. Now, of course, as always, they did mention that they were built around 3v3, but they can be expanded to a variety of other modes. So don't expect it to only stay for the comp playlist, but it might not play so well on 6v6 Mayhem, so maybe don't expect them in other varieties like that. However, they didn't actually give us much more detail in the way of, how they look or the ways they went into developing, but the ones we have is first an Europa map that is basically a fallen ship dock in the Eventide Labs. that is going to be, you know, as you saw, Aramis's personal catch that is sit there refueling. And they did, of course, cover a few others, mainly a Neo Muna kind of shopping mall that you'll be going through, as well as the map called Dissonance, which is going to be taking place on Nezarec's pyramid ship, which, in case lore people want to say it's the Witness, well, Nezarec was in charge of it when we left. Now, that is majority of the big news, or at least the things they gave us footage for. Then they also covered a few other things aside from the launch date, which May 7th specifically. I think all these maps will happen naturally, but there will be a playlist on May 7th for the 3 new Crucible maps, just when we're getting around to it. And they did give us a heads up for a new thing called Pantheon coming forward, which they didn't give us many details about it, but they kind of like said raid boss challenges. It might be quick fire encounters from various raids still available in Destiny 2, but they didn't give us much on the details of what, but they did say when, in terms of look out for a This Week in Destiny update for the next one. They didn't say what. But then as well, there is going to be a new title for Into the Light in case you want to claim it before the final shape. Of course, being Brave, which seems to be the grand theme of all of Into the Light. Then getting into everything else, there will be new players coming, and just in case you had somebody that was joining the fray, you can skip the New Light campaign. You don't have to talk to the most boring Guardian ever, Shah Han, and you can actually skip right into the Light, and of course claim the Thunderlord from the Gift of the Thunder Gods, everything, and basically you can just jumpstart into the deep end in case you want to. In addition to that, for all existing players, guess what? You have both access to new recustomizations for your character, like hairs and tattoos and like, as well as the available one more name change for everyone. If you haven't used your name change, you get 2 now. Possibly, they didn't exactly specify, but yeah, if you wish to change your name to something different because you didn't like what it was, or maybe you were just turned into a Guardian because you had something that broke terms of service, yeah, there you go. But on the last notes, so the last 2 things they talked about, of course, there is going to be a new Final Shape live stream that is going to go live just like 30 minutes before Into the Light itself launches, covering more gameplay for the Final Shape. We haven't exactly gotten gameplay, we've gotten cinematics, so that is actually pretty damn nifty. But on the same note, there will be another Twitch drop emblem for the for the new live stream that will look like the Bungie cat that you'll see all over Into the Light. And from that note as well, yeah, that's pretty much the last bit. There will be the next Twitch drop. Now, yeah, it's, I'm not gonna lie, the third is kind of short. Obviously, the important thing was 0 Hour and the Whisper, and those both not only returning, but getting upgraded. But, you know, not too much dissatisfaction. You know, the PvP, of course, it's meant for comp, it's meant for the sweats. I'm not gonna pay attention to that much, but, you know, it's nice to see it wrapping up in such a way. You know, the first one was about Onslaught, the second one was what you'll earn from Onslaught, and the third one was what you can earn outside of Onslaught. So, you know, it's not seeming too terrible. Of course, they already went back on their word about the time getting for weapon unlocks. Now everything will be available 2 weeks after the opening release. But, you know, that is pretty much, that is all of it. That is all we learned today from 3 different bald men with glasses with a variety of facial hair. My name is TheMadScorpyon. I will see you in the next video.